It is Saturday, November 8th, and after 2 week bye week, Alabama football returns. Welcome to Alabama Game Day today. Short morning chat about the upcoming game. Tonight at 6:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 Eastern, Alabama will be taking on the LSU Tigers. Game in Tuscaloosa. Alabama comes in the game ranked number 5 in the playoff rankings that just came out this past Tuesday. LSU comes into the game unranked. Game should have good weather. For Alabama, what's on the line here is if you win this game, you're in prime position to play for the SEC title game because you would only need one more win in the SEC to get in. And if you win this game, you only need to win 2 of your next 3 games to get into the playoffs, one of whom is against Western Illinois. So then you would only need to beat Oklahoma or Auburn to get into the playoff. Now, normally in these videos, I talk about at length what has to do with Alabama in this game. But I just said what it has to do with Alabama in this game. The big storyline on this game, however, centers around Alabama's opponent, the LSU Tigers. Many of us saw nearly 2 weeks ago what happened in Baton Rouge. LSU, after what seemed like a promising tenure for Brian Kelly, moved on from Brian Kelly. The boosters came up with a deal. Now they're still working out the kinks. Some talk has been about a reduced buyout. But Brian Kelly is now gone from Baton Rouge. He's being replaced, as for right now, by Frank Wilson. So he will coach out LSU in their next 4 games plus bowl game if they make it there. Frank Wilson is not expected by any media outlet as of right now to be named the permanent LSU head coach. But you have to think that if he took the interim job, he has at least some intention of trying to get the full-time job. Or possibly, if LSU doesn't offer him the full-time job, maybe some group of 5 or lower level Power 4 program would name him their head coach. So he's coaching for his job plus a future job. You got to imagine that's going to weigh on LSU. It could not have been any more clear in the second half of the Texas A&M versus LSU game that Brian Kelly had lost the team. And that was the last straw for him. He had already lost the boosters. He already lost the support of the fan base. Even the LSU athletic director was mum on bringing him back if he would return next year. That's another storyline, LSU firing their athletic director. If Brian Kelly would have lost the team, that would have been the last straw. And it could not have been more apparent in that second half of the LSU versus Texas A&M game that Brian Kelly had lost the team. I would go as far as to argue he lost the team at some point during the Vanderbilt game. But I have not seen it more apparent in a single half that a team's head coach had lost the team than what we saw in the second half of LSU versus Texas A&M when Texas A&M just went on for 30 minutes kicking LSU's ass after LSU had come into the half with a lead. So it was no more clear that Brian Kelly had lost LSU's team by that point. And by that point, there was nothing left. Boosters gone from their support. Fan base gone from their support. Athletic director gone from support. And now the team. It was no more apparent that he was going to be gone. Now, I am kind of shocked that they didn't do some sort of agreement like they did with Ed Orgeron a few years ago where they let Ed Orgeron coach out the season and then let him go. But in this case, we knew after the Texas A&M game, Brian Kelly was gone. Unless he could pull off some miracle, Brian Kelly was gone. Now we're in a new era. And it has already been reported that the team feels a lot different with Frank Wilson as the head coach than with Brian Kelly. There is absolutely no way to know how this team is going to be under Frank Wilson than when LSU takes the field against Alabama tonight. That is both a good thing because he's coaching his first ever game. He's going to have a lot of nerves. The team's going to have a lot of nerves, being that they're coming out under their first game under the new head coach. And it makes it even more difficult that they're going out on the road against the number 5 team in Alabama. But that also could bode badly for Alabama because Alabama has absolutely no film on how the team is going to look or play without Brian Kelly as its head coach. Now, another interesting scenario, too, that you have to keep in mind with Frank Wilson, he is behind the 8 ball when it comes to the head coaching search. If anybody on the LSU coaching staff has a chance to get the LSU coaching job, which I would go as far as to say is probably, it's easily the most desired position in the SEC right now. But you could say it's the most desired head coaching position in all of college football right now. LSU in any given year is a prime contender to get the SEC top for the SEC championship game. And in occasional years, you can even put them as a national title favorite. Look at 2019. Look at 2007. Look at 2012. LSU in any given year can just come out and get national championship contention. So that's why I would say it's probably the most appealing. If it's not the most appealing, then it's second most. Lane Kiffin is the favorite to win the job, and honestly, if any team in the SEC can lure Lane Kiffin away from Ole Miss, it's LSU. Because LSU is a program that has won 3 national titles in this side of the millennium. They are a recruiting hotbed. In any given year, you can pencil them to finish no less than fourth in the SEC. You got boosters that would be more than willing to help the NIL fund. So if any school in the SEC can lure Lane Kiffin away from Ole Miss, it's LSU. And I would go as far as to label that I think Lane Kiffin's going to get the job, unless he screws something up royally in Oxford, or Oxford manages to convince him to stay. Then next year, I would say Lane Kiffin's going to be the head coach of LSU. This team is going to be playing to try and appeal to a head coach that can win, or appeal to the university to let Frank Wilson be the head coach. This team's going to be more motivated than ever, and that does not bode well for Alabama going into this game. Now, of course, you have the home field advantage. You are the number 4. There's a reason why you're in the number 5 team, is because you are playing so well. You have the Heisman favorite. You have an offense that's been deadly, Jeremy Bernard. You have a defense that's vaunted. But you also are playing a team. You essentially have to pretend you're playing a team that you have no film on. Be ready for a fight from this team that you're going to face today. Also, a few other things regarding LSU that I'm interested to see. Garrett Nussmeier has not played to his potential all year. There was rumor a lot that he was hampered by a torso injury. And I had the same question that many LSU analysts had, because I watched every game LSU played this year. If Garrett Nussmeier is hampered by a torso injury, first off, why is he in the game? Why didn't you take him out for one of the games like Southeastern Louisiana or whatever? And secondly, why doesn't LSU run the ball more instead of relying on Nussmeier to pass the ball 30 times a game? I'm interested to see if Nussmeier is hampered by a torso injury. He did have the bye week, so maybe it does nothing here. But if he is still lingering from that torso injury, does LSU run the ball? Sorry, there was a pop-up on my screen right there. Does LSU run the ball more in Frank Wilson's offense than Brian Kelly's offense? Also on Alabama's side, there's some questionable running game. Can Alabama do better in the run game? That's the storylines. If you're Alabama, you have to play to your best of your abilities. You have to essentially pretend you're facing a team you have no film on and just come out ready for anything. Show your talent advantage. Show why you're the number 5 team in the playoff rankings right now. Show why you are probably the favorite to win the SEC and go out and play the best Alabama football that you possibly can tonight in Bryant Denny Stadium against LSU. That does it for this episode of Alabama Game Day today. Thank you for tuning in. I, as of right now, plan to do a stream. I'm waiting for official confirmation, but I do plan, as of right now, to do a stream. I will also do halftime and post game updates. Tune in throughout the day. If I don't announce anything on my community post, assume I'm doing a live stream somewhere around 6:30ish. But you know how I'm operating now is that until the game actually kicks off, I'm not turning on the stream because I just don't want a lot of dead space right there. Tune in. Have a good day watching college football. I hope your team wins, unless your team is LSU. Have a good day. Have a good day, and I'll see you tonight.